Richard Fuller.
Thousands of homeowners in my constituency and millions across the country who face estate management charges will have their rights substantially increased thanks to the provisions in this bill. And I'm extremely grateful to the Prime Minister, to the Secretary of State, to the Minister on the bench today and to his predecessor, the Honourable Member for Redditch, for absolutely focusing on including estate management charges in this bill. And it is extraordinarily timely, given the findings released this week by the Competition and Markets Authority. And let me just quote a couple of parts from their final report. They write, as a result of the emergence of the private management model and the market power conferred on some management companies, households are facing financial and emotional detriment. And if the status quo is maintained, this is likely to worsen over time. And they propose that governments, both the United Kingdom and the devolved authorities, look at two areas of measures. First of all, to provide greater protection to households living under private management arrangements, and that's what this bill is seeking to do. And I know the Minister has potentially some cards up his sleeve on forfeiture, on right to manage, probably on a host of other things. I hope that he will shake some of those cards loose as this moves up to the upper house. But secondly, the Competition Market Authority says to prevent the proliferation of private management arrangements for new housing estates. And to do that, it says two recommendations. Number one, implement common adoptable standards for public amenities on new housing estates. And number two, implement mandatory adoption of public amenities on new housing estates. That sounds good. That sounds like a long time away. We know this is growing rapidly, and so my Amendment 18 seeks to stop it in its tracks by saying that you may not pass on to homeowners charges for any service or provision that is usually the recourse of your local authority. And I cannot understand for the life of me, if I just may say, why the opposition aren't supporting this particular amendment. Now, I know it's a bit of a club on this. It's not very nuanced, but it gets to the heart of the matter. And so I'm looking for the Minister today, if he can just give some reassurance, I think to the opposition, as well as to me and to backbenchers, that he will look at what he can do in this bill to make progress on some of the measures mentioned by the Competition and Market Authorities. I know he wants to. I'm just hoping he can go as far as he can. May I just now turn to the provisions in the bill that relate to marriage value and the treatment of marriage value as proposed. Now, there is a concern, there's been stressed a number of times, that we are making decisions in this bill with some limited information on some important economic effects. For example, the decision of the Secretary of State regarding the options for the future of ground rents arising from the recent consultation. 2, how the government might determine the appropriate rates for the deferment and capitalisation rates, a range of unquantified effects in the bill's impact assessment. In committee, I tried to learn a bit more about whether marriage value is a real thing. It is a real thing. It's been enshrined in legislation in 2002 and previous that in 1993. Now, the bill is not actually abolishing marriage value. It's transferring it. In fact, you can't abolish marriage value in maths. It is an optional value. It has real value. So this is not a decision to abolish it. It's a decision to take it from one group of stakeholders and give it to another group of stakeholders. It is a £7 billion transfer of wealth from one group to another. And under the provisions of the bill, it would be retrospective on contracts always entered into. Now, that is a perfectly legitimate public policy position if we wish to take it, but I would just say to the Minister, it is fraught with legal risk and legal jeopardy as it is currently proposed. The amendments that I put down would seek to provide a safer passage for this bill as it goes through to become law. It would ensure that any lease that is below 80 years at the time the Act is passed will continue to have marriage value, but any lease that goes below 80 years after the Act is passed would not have marriage value. And I just ask the Minister to consider that as he moves to the next stage of this bill.
area. And then finally, my honourable friend from North East Bedfordshire has been an absolutely doughty champion for progress on estate management. He is absolutely right to do so. His speech again demonstrates the strength of feeling on this. And as I have said at the dispatch box a moment ago, we are considering it further and recognise the importance of doing that.